Board. Did you just pick? Is that Booker T?
Yeah, Booker T as well, man. No, it's only because Lee said like there's like 3 white men and 1 black man. So I thought,
So
gonna.
Okay. I mean, like, to be fair, it's kind of just the standard in the UK, but we'll get into that in the conversation.
Just slide to me through the camera. Right, let's get ready, guys. I'm going to record this to my computer. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Talking Madness, episode 3, with myself, Nathan Lewis, and my co-hosts, Aaron and Lee. Say hello, guys.
Hello.
And this week, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest. We have our good friend, Simeon. Simeon, say hello.
Hello, guys.
So how's everyone doing this week? How's everyone been this week with the lockdown still in full effect, although it is easing now?
Pretty much the same for me, mate. Nothing's really changed.
You're still not working, are you?
No, still not at work. So just still waiting to go back. Getting a bit fatter every day, I think, but getting there.
Aaron, you've been working non-stop.
Still working. Yeah, yeah, all the same for me, mate. Busy.
I hear you hurt your back as well. How's your back?
You live enough.
Yeah. And Simeon, so how have you been in this lockdown? How have you been coping?
I have been good. So I've worked all the way through as well, but I've worked from home. This is the joy of being an office worker. So I've been working in my room, binging Netflix whilst getting my job done. So yeah, I'm in a good place for the most part.
Yeah, I'm the same. I've been working from home as well. So I know how you feel. I feel like I could do a little bit less watching TV, but I need it to keep you sane.
Yeah, absolutely.
So obviously, ladies and gentlemen, normally each week we'll have a subject each, which we will discuss and we'll debate a different subject chosen by one of us. However, we're not doing that this week. The reason why we're not doing that this week is we're actually going to discuss one subject this week, and it's a subject that needs to be talked about a lot more, and so it's very important, especially with everything that's going on at the moment in the world. And so this week we are going to be talking about Black Lives Matter. They always have done, in my opinion. And we're going to be talking about, obviously, everything's been going on over in America and the UK right now since the incident that happened with George Floyd over in America. So there's no point me talking about this matter. There's no point Aaron really talking about this matter, or Lee, because we've never really hands down experienced it. So what we've done tonight, we've brought on one of our friends, a guest, Simeon, who is actually going to talk about it and open our eyes up to everyone about the everyday situation these guys face and how important it is for us to stand up for what matters, which is Black Lives Matter. So, Simeon, over to you.
Thank you very much. Like I said, it's a privilege to be here. So that's really cool. Thank you for having me. I don't know where I can really start with this kind of conversation, because to describe my day-to-day, it can vary. Some days, like I can imagine for you guys, it's just normal and there's no interaction. And other days you're kind of like, okay, this is going to be a challenge. I think especially with lockdown, there's been a lot more things where police have stopped. I've noticed I've been stopped more. Like it used to be like it was a regular thing anyway, in some cases, but more so now. It's like, where are you going for my walk? Here's my app. Here's what tracking my walk from my house to where I'm going around this local park. How long are you going to be? Depends on my mood. It could be up to an hour. Try and be as quick as possible. Okay, fine. It has got a little bit easier since we've had the leniencies brought in, but like you said, there's still that frustration that it still happens now for me in 2020, and has always kind of been a thing. You just there's a point where you learn to suppress it, and it just becomes your norm, and you just learn, okay, I just have to comply and I get out of this situation as quickly as possible. And there's times where you can't. Sometimes there's moments where you do explode, and they're not the best time. So I've always tried to live by, be the best example I can be, so then you can lead others the way you'd wish to be led. And that's kind of a rhetoric I have in regards to those kind of things. In regards to a lot of the posts I do, sometimes I do get angry and sometimes I do go off. But for a lot of things, you can't educate through anger. Yeah.
So with that said, obviously, like you say, you can't educate through anger, which is understandable. A lot of things never really got anywhere through anger or aggression or violence or anything like that. So where do you stand on, obviously, over in America and over here, there's been protests, obviously, throughout the streets of England. There's been protests this week, and also in America, there's been a protest. But obviously, some of the protests in America have gone there's been looting, violence and stuff. What's your opinion on that side of things then? Obviously, I get they're angry and I get they're frustrated, and there's a reason for it. I don't blame them necessarily for the frustration and anger there. But then do you think there's a line that still should be crossed then?
For the most part, I don't condone the riots. But at the same time, I can understand the level of anger that's shown in those communities, because for a lot of them, we're asking for a fair shake. We're asking for justice. So when it's brought up, a lot of the stat used is, well, blacks kill more blacks than anybody else. And you're like, that in the grand scheme of things, you're potentially right. But we're not talking about these situations at this current moment in time. We're talking about situations where officers are killing us and then getting away with it because such the immunities they have there. And it's insanity. So the example used a lot I've also seen is with Lee Rigby. It's like, why was there no protest and riots for him? There was. There's very much the EDL marched and protest and even rioted in those situations, but his killers were caught instantly, detained instantly, are serving life behind bars. Whereas in regards to the Floyd George case, and is a lot of the other cases, like your Botham Jean, your Tatiana Jefferson, as much as there's evidence, we get a reply of the first day we got the reply, even though there was video evidence of what happened to Floyd, we don't have substantial evidence. And the world literally watched a man get murdered. Please tell us where there's a balance. If that's what you want to equate to, okay, well, if you're saying there should be a protest here where there was justice, then you can surely see why we're protesting and angry here. Like I said, I don't condone rioting and looting. I think that's a bad place to go. But you've got to be in such a bad place that you want to cause damage to your own society. It is a horrible place to be in, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody. But it was the same over here in 2011 when we had the London riots and the London lootings.
Yeah. No, I think it's interesting. Like I say, like the one thing that I have seen a lot on social media, and I read an article. I don't know who I saw someone post the other day about how I can't remember who it was, but they're saying that over these last few days through social media, they've learned more than they did like through their whole entire life or schooling, because it's stuff that isn't educated out.
It's
like
true.
Proper history of stuff, and really educating people on what has the history of what's gone on in people's lives. But like I say, the Lee Rigby thing, a lot of people are using that as a comparison and trying to bring up the saying that it's the same when it isn't the same at all. And it's interesting that you brought that up, because I recently, just a minute ago, I saw on social media that Lee Rigby's family have even come out now to say that they don't want his name to be involved in it, because they don't believe it is the same. It's not right to be compared to.
No.
And I think that's interesting, where you've got a group of people that believe that they are the same and they should be compared to. But then if you the actual people that were involved, which is his family, are saying no, it's not. And I think that's interesting, where people should really listen to that. That's the family saying you're wrong to compare it, you're wrong to use his name, you're wrong to have him involved.
It can't be the same at all, because Lee Rigby was killed by terrorists, by people, obviously they shouldn't have done it, but you expect a terrorist to be a terrorist. You expect a policeman to protect you. You expect, these are people that are supposed to protect everybody, not not just because of the colour of somebody's skin, fucking kill them. You know, it's not the same at all. It can't
That's
be.
one thing I think. I think that's one thing that's been missed in this a lot is people are going off tangents about all different things, but the main situation this came from is that it's a police officer, which has happened before, happened many times before. I'm not saying it's a new thing to happen, but the main argument is these people are meant to protect and serve, and they're taking lives, innocent lives,
It's
taking
not
lives.
Policeman. There was a policeman, I think it's from New York or something, who came out, a white policeman, who said, if there is any other policeman in the world who thinks that there's nothing wrong with this and they should turn in their badge, there are good policemen out there. It's just there's a hell of a lot of really bad ones.
This goes against the things in London. I think I saw today someone, or the other day in London, is a guy. I mean, it might be in America and London. It happened in both places. There was a guy hugging the police officers, and then he got attacked and shouted at. And he was trying to explain to the people, like, he didn't kill someone. He didn't kill someone. We shouldn't be attacking these officers because they're not the ones that killed someone. But there are, like I say, there are good officers out there, and there's good people out there, but there are those that are bad. And what they're trying to say is
like with Floyd George. He didn't, like, it wasn't even just the copper who was like kneeling on his neck. It was like there was another 3 that was stood around just letting it happen. I mean, your man's there like saying, I can't breathe, and then there's other 3 coppers who are just there like, oh, let it be, you know, it's fine. And they should have done something. You know, it's not just him. They should have done something as well to stop him.
And it's why they've all been prosecuted, which is the right thing. The right thing is the prosecution, because they have taken a life. They've helped within. They've not helped step in, and it's their job to protect and serve. But obviously, going on to another thing that comes up, which again is another thing that I don't. It's another thing that's been in the argument all along. Is obviously this whole movement at the moment again is Black Lives Matter, because it is about how Black people have always been treated, and how, you know, we go all the way back to the injustice that there was, and we're now still in 2020 and there's still an injustice and mistreatment of Black people. And the one thing you see, and everyone tagging or commenting about Black Lives Matter, helping to awareness, helping with it, is the one thing you keep seeing the counteraction is All Lives Matter, which is another thing which it does my head in seeing it. I'm sure it annoys the hell out of you, Simeon, people saying that. And I saw an article on Facebook the other day about someone saying that no one once has ever said that not all lives matter. That's not the point. And the people coming back with that argument is basically because they don't understand. They're just basically unintelligent to understand what it means. What they're saying is Black Lives Matter because they're the people that have had the injustice. They're the people that are being affected in the way in which society treats them, in the way in which they're being treated by society. And someone brought up
that's never been the question, that our lives matter. That's why Black Lives Matter is a thing, because there's always been that fucking thing where people have seen them as second-class citizens, and we need to. I mean, Simeon, as my friend, as somebody I love to bits, you need to know your life matters to me, bro. I love you to bits. You know what I mean? Like, you all need. Everybody needs to. Like, yes, all lives matter. That is so fucking true. But like you've just said, it's not. We need to put the fucking spotlight on the shit that's happened to a fucking whole group of people.
So I saw. I don't know if he's frozen.
Yeah, isn't he?
You still there, bro?
I mean, oh no, we've lost Simeon. Hang on. We are having technical difficulties whilst we are live here.
Wow.
This is new. Maybe 2 seconds. He's messaged me. My meeting just went down. Okay. Guys, we have just lost our guest at the moment, and we do apologise for this. We are going to get our guest back as soon as possible to discuss this matter.
Until then, Lee's going to sing to us.
Stay with us. Aaron will sing you a song.
No, Lee will.
They won't sing you a song. Okay.
What do you know, Lee?
Nothing appropriate.
All right, there we
Oh,
go.
he's back. Yay! He's back.
Hey,
He's
So
back.
Before we carry on, where did you lose us?
so I lost you at the point. So Lee was just speaking about like stuff that affects him and his family, and that's what I heard last.
Yeah,
Lee don't even remember what he was saying 2 seconds ago. That's helpful in a situation.
Should we just carry on that bit?
So, I was about to say, Simon, that is, I saw an interesting thing that was said by a gentleman that said, if you're a Christian and you're one of those people commented about all lives matter, then you need to read your own Bible. And he goes to an article in the Bible where it states that there's a farmer that has 100 sheep and he loses one sheep and he only goes to look for the one sheep and the other sheep say, what about us? But it's not that he doesn't care about those other sheep. It's the fact that that one's the one gone missing. That's the one that's in danger. And I thought that was quite interesting. But obviously people that don't understand why we're saying Black Lives Matter. The reason why we're saying Black Lives Matter is because they're the people that are being affected by this everyday occurrences of, like you say, randomly being stopped for no reason, being treated differently because of how you've looked. And it goes back hundreds of years of this happening. And that's why the slogan is Black Lives Matter, because they're the ones that are being discriminated against. They're the ones that have had all the racial abuse throughout their lives. And again, we're in a day and age where 2020, this stuff should be happening. And that's why people are having to step up even more now, and it's having to become this massive movement, because it's the only way people seem to recognize things these days. But obviously, with this being said, Simeon, obviously, talk us more about obviously Black Lives Matters, and obviously, what do you think about when people say this all lives matter stuff as well?
Okay, so I understand the rhetoric of, oh, Black Lives Matter, all lives matter. Okay, and like you said, there's never the statement we've said. We're not trying to ask for superiority. We're asking for an equal. We're asking for a fair shake at the table, and it's not just to do with policing. It's to do with the whitewashing of the world as a whole, in these kind of situations.
Yeah.
So, if we go back far into your history, there was a point where Africa ruled the world, and that's it. They brought hygiene to Europe. Gold was the currency and everything. When the currency changed from gold to money, like the earliest forms of money now, we lost a lot of that power and we lost a lot of what we have. Like as in regards to that, but we're not looking to rule everything again. We just, like we said, we want the equality, the equal shake of the table. Mm-hmm. If you bring it forward, then slavery happens. And yes, every culture has engaged in slavery. We're not disputing this. Just that you've got to just understand that from that point on, and even before that, like British colonialism, it shows you how much that the white British white British who have now since evolved into the white American, European American, etc., dominated the world. The fact that you are 87% of the populations both here and there, and we are 13% over there and 3% over here, kind of shows you how insignificant in the grand scheme of the numbers we are as a population. Whereas in regards to the crime figures, 55% of the crimes over there are black males, and it's about the same figure here. So when it comes to all lives matter, I do understand what you're saying, but let's use the Spider-Man analogy of, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
You as a race have a great power in regards to you run stuff. You run the world. You're the top 1%. A lot of the time, they're not the top 0.5%. So you run the world. In that case, by that logic, you have the responsibility to allow things to change. And you haven't done for many a year. if you look at the history of America, the Tulsa race riots, which are 99 years this week, where you had a town in America when segregation was at its peak, and black people had their own town, and it was described as Black Wall Street. Like we know what Wall Street is now.
Yeah.
Imagine the black version. And that was started because by an accusation. So the riots there were started by an accusation. When a black man entered a lift with a white female lift attendant, and she screamed and accused him of accosting her. The black man was then held for lynching, and the people of the town, George, I can't remember the name of the town, it's just literally just left my tongue. Either way, they went to go and defend their brother to get a fair trial. Trying to defend their brother, armed as well, like naturally, of course they are. You'll see the other side is armed. An errant gunshot went off and it killed a white man. An accidental gunshot.
Yeah.
To retaliate to that, the whole town was burned down and 300 black people were killed. 1,200 buildings lost. A whole town completely ruined because of one gunshot, basically. So there is precedence for what we are seeing in regards to wanting equality, but there's also precedent in seeing that you guys, if you want to, will completely ruin us because you have the power. They were given martial law, which means, like we're seeing now, the military are coming, and the military helped run through that.
Which is happening in America, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Simeon,
in Tulsa.
Simeon,
Yes.
can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that media plays a massive part in stirring up the hatred as well?
Yes.
Because, like, since obviously what's happened, all I see on media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, etc., is the videos of the rioters, and then you'll see something else like, I seen one the other day. I don't know if anyone else seen it. It was a white lad who it was set upon, and then it was the headlines of, I hope you remember this guy since he was killed, blah 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 blah. And then somebody says, well, no, that's a lie, because here's a Twitter from the guy saying, yeah, everyone says I'm dead, but I'm not. So all that's doing is stirring the hatred pot, isn't it? That's what I see it is stirring the hatred pot, and it's just like a massive merry-go-round.
Yeah, absolutely. So history, another saying is, I'm filled with these. It's really kind of like my life. History is depicted by the winners. Mainstream media is, for the most part, majority white run conglomerate. So therefore, they're going to have a certain political agenda, no whatever side of the spectrum they fall. So whatever side of the spectrum you fall on, you're going to see what they wish for you to see.
Yeah.
So, and it's difficult when you see such things which are infuriating, and they bring a genuine level of anger out of my soul, because you can relate to them, and I can relate to them, and I can relate to being just a few steps away from that potentially happening here, and then having to potentially deal with that. And like the way I said, there's been days where it has happened here. I have to try and look at the whole story and listen to everybody's perspective and try and stay level-headed, so you can have a informed view on things. And that means I have to listen to stuff that challenges my view, and challenges what mainstream media are saying to me as here you go, this is what's going on, this is what you need to see. And I've hypothesized in regards to this situation, in regards to the riots and everything else, that we're seeing what the media needs to see, because it's a presidential. So we are seeing all of this in the midst of a presidential cycle. Trump now is sending in is effectively inflicting martial law, because he needs to be seen as a strong president to get that second term. Further to this, you're going to further see the economy crash, especially in those cities where rioting is happening. But what you will see is Trump and his rich billionaire friends buy up all that property, redo it, increase the value there, which will further segregate Black people from the communities that they were already involved in. So as much as there will be some positive steps and changes, in my opinion and my fear is you're going to see a lot of the negative, you're going to see a lot of steps backwards. So we have potential to do great good, but we need to remember that there's actually a chance for great evil to prosper.
Simeon, can I just ask, I mean, I'm pretty sure I know what the answer will be, but do you think it would be going different if there was a different president than Trump at the minute in charge in America?
I think to an extent.
He's helping. He's not exactly helping things along, is he? Like he's saying, he's going to get the army in and stuff like that.
No, and I agree. But and this is going to be where people are going to get pissed, because what he's doing is exercising his constitutional right to protect the innocent, and that's a hard bit to say, because you want to sit there and go, oh well. You want to argue the toss of who's innocent in this, that, and the other. So in the grand scheme of things, it's very hard. Do I believe that other presidents would handle the situation better? I want to believe it wholeheartedly. But then out of the most recent few years, Clinton, Bush, Obama, Trump, they're the presidents that I remember off the top of my head. I might have had one more just in my lifetime. Aaron's definitely had more.
Oh, see, I remember old Abraham.
Aaron's the old dog here.
On the scene.
So in regards to that, you can't.
I think I remember Abe Lincoln, to be fair.
Mate, I went to school with him.
Yeah, I thought you were a John Adams kind of guy.
Oh dear.
Sorry.
I kind of sit there and you can sit there and go, I can hope that there'd be better. But with Bush, you kind of have the example of 9/11 and the response to that.
Yeah.
And that, if you look at the collective, was the first time that America had seen that level of terrorism there. And the country's never been the same and has never recovered.
Of a topic, because I think that was a whole inside job anyway, but we'll use that for a different topic. But
right.
Do you think, I mean, obviously it's a lot more obvious in America, but do you experience it a lot here yourself? And do you know a lot of friends that have themselves as well?
I have experienced my fair share. Some things I have done, because of course you have moments of being young and dumb, but I've since learned from those. They're misdemeanors, naturally. I've also had friends who have experienced it as well. We've all experienced it. We can't help it. In a lot of cases, for some of us, we're like 6 foot and we're relatively quite built. So that in some cases is very intimidating to people. So you kind of realize that actually, as much as we don't want to, we fit a narrative that says, these are the type of people who will kill you in an instant.
Yeah. I've been stopped a lot, but I mean, I know that's just because I do look like a thug. I've got a skinhead. I've got tattoos all over me. I usually walk down the street with 2 staffies. But they're soft as shit, but I look a certain way. But I understand for a lot of you guys, it's just because of the colour of your skin, which must be horrible.
And it is in some cases, but it's also, again, it's in regards to where. So a lot of the time, if I'm walking, I will walk in a hoodie and trackies. So if you see me coming towards you, I look quite intimidating, especially when it's dark. So we understand that there is a narrative that we've filled, but like for you guys wearing trackies, you're doing it for comfort. We're doing exactly the same thing. Yeah. It's just perceived differently. And it's that perception that we have. If you see them doing this, they're going to do this.
Yeah.
No, actually, I'm quite comfortable in a pair of trackies. They're really cozy. If I could wear trackies to work, I would.
So, obviously, since all this been going on and everything happening at the moment, obviously a lot of people are posting on social media a lot of stuff about their lives, and how they've been affected throughout their life with racial abuse or stereotypically being selected and stereotyped because of the way they look. And also I read some people's posts, been reading all the posts and really read into it, just obviously to learn from it, to really understand it, because like I said earlier, I can't comment on their situation. Aaron can't, Lee can't, because we've never really experienced it. Okay, we might have experienced a bit of bullying when we were kids, stuff like that. But it's completely different. It's not the same thing. No one can ever compare it. So I know you've been quite quiet. I know you did the video sort of a few days ago, which I watched the whole video twice, and it was a very interesting video and really heartfelt, really, because obviously we really got to understand your feelings and how you felt about it. And anyone who does have Simeon on Facebook who hasn't seen this video, do check it out and do really listen to what he has to say. But if you don't have to answer this question, if you don't want to, Simeon, obviously understand these are personal situations. When was the first, how old were you when you would say you first encountered racial stereotyping or racial abuse then?
So in regards to that video, you can also find that on my page at Simply Delicious Talk. It's also publicly posted there, just so the world could see it. When it comes to hearing it, when it comes to like first experiences, I would say I was in middle school because I was still part of the 3-tier system. So I was about 9. And you're cool, and you get to a point where like you're making friends and this and the other, and it's fine. And somebody called, and it's like you get called a monkey, and that becomes and like you digest it, it becomes a thing, but you don't really understand the connotations. And then as it becomes a more continuous thing and it gets progressively worse, you then start to understand what's going on, and you understand segregation. And when teachers don't do something about it, you realize there's a problem. So when teachers don't do something and then you react violently and then you're punished, you realize actually there's a systemic issue.
Yeah.
So teachers didn't do anything.
Yeah. So I had teachers who were absolutely amazing and would back me. And then there were other teachers who were just so lazy about the situation. And it like to realize that you have an opportunity to mold a mind there and then with how you react to a situation and how you punish is like, it's paramount for us. So I'm not sure if you saw Rory or Roy Johnston's video where he talks about the talk. And for us, it was for me, I had that talk again at that kind of age where it's described as you will be challenged and you will have to work 10 times harder because of the color of your skin. And I didn't understand it. And then as I got through life, I realized I had to. When I got to upper school, secondary school, I got offered a place at a really prestigious secondary school because of my athletics and my athleticism. I was a high jump champion at school. So they were like, "Ooh, we'll take you." And I declined that. I went to quite a rough school because I still wanted to stay with my friends, and I wanted to stay amongst people who understand what it was like for me, like growing up, and that helped shape my experience growing up and shaped who I am as a person now. And like I said, that talk, it kind of sticks with you because you can recall it instantly like that. And there's been examples of that same level of racism where I have to talk differently. So how I talk now, people are very much like, "Oh, it's not what I expected to come from a black man." And you're like, "Oh, really? What were you expecting?" A little rougher, a little bit rougher. I was like, "Oh, I do apologize. Does this make you feel a little more comfortable?" It's what you were expecting.
That's bad, isn't it? Just stereotype you right down to how you talk.
Yeah, so it's very much a way of you embody the culture that surrounds you. If you don't, and especially because I work in an office, I have to, like, I was basically told I have to sound a certain way to sound credible. So I did sound like a bit of a chav and a bit of a thug back in the day, because of course you do. And when I'm angry, it comes out. You're like, ah. But the grand scheme of things, I was taught to talk that way so I could be sound credible in an office. And then when I did, like, when you do telephone interviews for jobs, I can absolutely crush those because people can't see my face. And I had an experience once where there was me and another guy, and we were waiting for going to the interview. And I was like, "Oh, Simeon, I'm so excited about this. I'm really happy to meet you." And he shook his hand to the white guy, and I was like,
Oh God!
"It's like, I'm Simeon," and he went,
Oh,
and it was like, I knew instantly I wasn't getting the job.
oh.
That's
But
bad.
he was excited to meet you because of what he'd read about you, what he'd seen on your CV and stuff. And then when he saw it, that's fucking disgusting. And when he saw you, he's like,
Yeah, you know what I mean for the
shake your hand. That's fucking horrible.
It's like the comedian Ramesh Ranganathan. I don't know if anyone's ever listened to him live, but there was he was saying that obviously his name is Ramesh, but when his mum and dad moved here, they found that they needed to give him an English name, and he never knew until he went to school that his name was something like Peter or something like that. And he says it was like you used to go to like interviews, and they were like, "Oh, Peter Ranganathan," and then like he'd walk in, they were like, "Oh, who are you?" They were like, "Well, I'm Peter." Oh, okay. You know, so, you know, and he said he got the same sort of thing as what you just said. And you just think you shouldn't look at someone for the colour of skin or a name. It's what they perform and how they can take your company to the next level, really.
Yeah, exactly. And you'd hope for the grand scheme of things. But my grandparents learned from an early age that kids aren't going to be accepted, because my grandparents came here from Jamaica because, you know, there was opportunities, the great dream, better life for children coming from Jamaica. And when you're welcomed with no blacks, no Irish, no dogs, you kind of realize quickly that it's gonna be a rough time. So my mum, my uncles have quite English sounding names. My mum's name was Angela. My uncles are Derek, Clive, Dexter, and Logan or Barry. So as you can see, they're very white sounding names. And we have the surname Morgan. So
well, I think that goes back to, like you said earlier, though, like when you're in school and experience the first time in school, it is, and like I said earlier, it's not in the education system. It's not something that's taught about the history of racism in the country and in the world, and also how people's lives have been affected from hundreds of years ago, 1,000 years ago, all the way up to now. And like you say, and it all goes down to the fact is, again, they're people in power, they're people of responsibility who aren't doing the right thing because I don't know the answer for that. I can't even make it up right now whilst I'm trying to say it. But it's the same. It goes back to the police officers at the moment who have been arrested for George Floyd. They were people in power to protect someone, and they took that person's life. Your teacher was in a position to educate that person there and then about what they were saying is wrong, what they were doing is wrong, but they didn't. And they allowed it to be something that is acceptable for that child to say. And again, as children is when our brains soak things up and we learn things as children. That's why we go for education. Things that you learn as a child, or things that you understand as a child, are things that become implanted on you for your future life. You can change your ways, you can change your perception of stuff, you can educate yourself even more as you grow up. That's understandable. But if a child at 9 years old is being made to believe that whatever he says to you is acceptable, as he goes on through school, if that's not corrected, or as he goes on through life, that's not corrected, that person always sees that as right. And that's where these issues continue to occur, because no one ever steps in to say that's wrong. And that's again what's happening right now. Is it's got to a point where everyone's having to say this is wrong, this is not right, this is what matters, this is what should be happening, this is how you should be treating people, and that's what it's taking a global situation to make people actually open their eyes, which it shouldn't be, Dan. It should be common sense that just because someone's skin color is different, they should be treated differently.
Yeah, Simeon, you said about like when your grandparents came here, it was like no blacks, no Irish, no dogs. Like my granddad, he came over, he's an Irish bloke, and he had that. But I mean, that's disappeared now. An Irishman, it's not even a thing to like bat an eyelid at now. But the no blacks thing, whereas it's not written there, it's still like deep there, isn't it?
It's very much, yeah, and it's very much ingrained into society. So, like I said, colonial Britain, you kind of sit there and go, y'all ran the world. But with that, you pressed your ideals onto the whole world where you were. You were like, you must be a Christian, you must do this, you must be of a pale skin tone to be attractive. So even if you look in places like India, where they have skin lightening products, so you are considered more attractive. Those of a darker color, even in like Indian and Middle Eastern kind of families, will be considered like the darkie, the black sheep of the family. So there is still that prejudice that actually black is still negative, no matter the connotation. But then you'll watch us, you'll celebrate with us when we become celebrities. So your Beyoncé's, your Jay-Z's, your this, that, and the other. And you'll stand there with us until something goes wrong and then the axe is thrown. So you want all of our rhythms, but you do not want any of our blues.
Yeah.
So to put it,
And I think that's interesting, like how things have to be explained in such a way for people to understand. Where, to me, these things should be just common sense to people. These things should just be normal. Like you should not, you shouldn't treat someone differently because who they are, how they are, what they do.
Think about it, and I know I'm guilty of this myself, right? If I was to describe you, Nathan, I would describe you to somebody else as a bit of a fat ginger.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say fat ginger.
One of the first things I would say is Simeon, the black lad, like fucking. It would be one of the first things I'd say, and I don't mean that to be like offensive or anything, but it's mad to think that I wouldn't use the word white to describe a white guy. But when you're describing somebody else, like say, even if it was an Indian guy, anybody, I wouldn't describe anything else they look like first. It would be like that color of their skin.
Yeah, but like for me, describing me as, the black lad from this, this, and this is no issue, because especially because that's what you're expecting, and that's how you'd explain things to people. So with me, with family, and if somebody meets them, I'm like, so and so. As in, the white guy who came to this. And you're like, oh, okay. It's association. So that in itself is not inherently racist. It's when you take that and you go, Simeon, that casual N-bomb here, who would do that, who did this, this, and this. And you're like, okay, this is what it is. Because there's nothing wrong with me being described as black. I am black. And I will tell that forever.
I didn't think you're right. I wouldn't describe to another white person as like somebody being white, but like you said, you with your family, if it was talking about me, you'd say, the little bold white lad,
Yeah, exactly. And that's not inherently racist. That's just describing who you are, the angry bald midget.
Angry bald midget. Can we get this in the
school report?
Guys, if you want to comment, angry bald midget below. And if we could get maybe 20, 30 comments of angry bold midget, next episode he'll wear a t-shirt with it on.
We're paying for it then.
There's a t-shirt with angry bold midget on there.
We'll sell them. Let's sell them.
I tell you what, though, that's never been a wrestling gimmick, has it? There should be one. Weighing 150 pounds. It's the angry bold midget.
Experienced too much in wrestling.
Hey, beg your pardon?
Well, I was going to bring this up. Sorry, Lee. I was going to bring this up because it has been spoke about obviously everything goes on in wrestling, and there's actually been, I find it fascinating that there's people out there being worried about their future bookings due to what they're saying or what they're going to be standing up for. And I know this to be something that's being talked about a lot on social media in regards to obviously everything's going on and people are actually worried about their bookings. And in theory, they shouldn't be. For standing up for something that you believe in or standing up for something that's right, you shouldn't be affected by it. So obviously, Lee's question to you, Simon, was obviously how is it in wrestling? How obviously is the racial stereotypes in wrestling? Or how is it?
So yeah, you do. I have experienced it. I've been in the business, like around the business, since 2009, in one way, shape, or form. So I have experienced it, and you internalize it because, like you said, you're effectively told to stay quiet because you don't want to be too political or you don't want to rock the boat, which is kind of the narrative you have through life. And yeah, I've seen the same people who are concerned about their bookings. As soon as I uploaded the video, I literally messaged my friends. I said, I've probably torpedoed my wrestling career. But then I've seen the amount of shares and it's been incredible. So from people, even in the community who I do not know, and that for me is a blessing. It means that we're progressing. Have I experienced it? Yes. I did a urban gangster gimmick to begin with because it's the only way people could relate to me. Because if you go into wrestling, there's only certain things they're going to expect. And the black guy has to be the stereotypical thug. And I was like 11 stone. So there was literally nothing to me that was particularly gangster. And then I evolved and I turned into just generic wrestler for a little bit. So I could try and buck the trend of needing to do the stereotype. And then I've now since evolved into the beautiful bit of chocolate that I am, because I've now embraced who I am wholeheartedly. So why can't I live it? And that means embracing the myself as a black person in wrestling. Have I experienced? Like I said, I've experienced it, but I've now since grown past it, and I don't care. If you don't want me on your show because I'm black and I have black views, then I'm not interested in being on your show.
Because most of my experience with wrestling is mostly with CPW, and like there, like, you know, backstage we're all a fucking family. You know, we're having a laugh, we're having a joke, and I could never imagine. I mean, if I heard anybody say anything to you or about you or anything, you know, like that was, you know, untoward, I'd give him a slap, and I'd you know, if I wouldn't get into trouble with Phil for that. I think we all know why, but you know, like
no, I can't put my finger on it.
Imagine, like, especially other people I've met, most of them just seem like absolute fucking sweethearts, and like to know that you're doing something you love doing. Like, I mean, we're all wrestlers because we love wrestling, and to know that you're doing something that you love doing, and then you have to put up with that at the same time. Yeah, it's horrible for me.
And that's kind of the thing. This is supposed to be my escape from reality, and unfortunately, the reality of my skin color will follow me for everywhere I go, no matter what I want to do. And like you see that in celeb culture, because even like Meghan Markle, who's just spoke about this, like Duchess of wherever or former Duchess of wherever, she put her comments online, and Hart picked them up. And if you go through the comments on the Facebook page, I saw her refer to as an it, not as a person, or she. It's like she shouldn't pipe up. What does she know about racism? She's black. She lived here, and you made her life miserable. But to refer to a person as an it shows me your true intentions and the kind of thing. And like, you're not the type of people I want to associate with. But I will happily go off on you.
That goes back to giving that, you know, the media giving them a platform to the you know, the closet racists, really, isn't it, Simeon? You know, they'll say it behind a keyboard, but I bet they wouldn't say it to your face.
Exactly. And that's kind of the thing. Because a lot of the comments are like, and this like I'm generalizing, but a lot of the comments were coming from middle class Karens, which is a whole other subject where they describe themselves as saying the K word. Karen is as racist as the M word. But,
I know, yeah.
But there was a lot like.
That's
But yeah, there was.
Karen.
Huh?
My mum's
That's
name's Karen.
Sorry.
No,
I'm sure she's not a Karen. I'm sure
My
it's a
mum's
lady.
name actually is Karen, but she isn't your typical Karen. I promise you.
No, she's not.
No.
Not the manager out there.
I got confused, but okay.
How are you confused?
I got confused with what Lee was saying. I couldn't hear him hardly, and I got lost what he was trying to say, and then all I heard was Karen. And I was like, okay.
Karen. You know Karen.
Everybody knows a Karen. Everybody knows.
Steve's mum's called Karen.
All right, we're getting off track. Come on.
Sorry, yeah.
But yeah, as I was saying, going through those comments, there was a lot of Karens in the comments who were saying stuff who you know full well if they were in their local shop, local Sainsbury's or whatever, and myself or somebody like Big T were behind them, they would not make such comments because I'm 5'11", he's 7 foot.
Definitely not with Big T behind him. Like a monster.
I don't think even I'd say anything with Big T behind me, and he's my friend.
Guys, I don't know if we're on about with Big T. Big T is a wrestler, and I mean he's a beast. I think he's over 6 foot.
He is a 7 foot black monster, and who is very inept in legal because he works in the legal system. So could you imagine turning up to court and seeing him there?
But I mean, I was obviously right now, obviously in social media, there's a lot of positive videos out there. People obviously, a lot of good out there as well, but then there are still the people that are saying negative things. And there's a lot of interesting stories coming out. People, like I say, this Black Lives Matters movement is a lot of it is to do with educating people, trying to educate people as well as standing up for what's right. And on the education side of things, you've seen a lot of videos from celebrities and people that are actually talking about their lives, but also talking about how it happens and how and why it's there and what causes it. And there's someone I've listened to a lot, and I've always liked his stuff, and I've always liked what he talks about. And that's a guy called Akala.
Absolutely, I love Akala's stuff as well.
Yeah, he's amazing, and he talks about recently. He's in a video. He talks about his experience when he was 12 years old, and he was at school. And his school that he went to, they all gave him a book which had their rights in it because the teachers knew they're likely to be stopped. They're likely to be stopped. And his first experience was at 12 years old being stopped by the police, and he wasn't read his rights, wasn't read anything, nothing, and he was just because of his skin color. And then he was going on about saying that the reason he's in the top 2% in education wise, okay, very clever person, very well educated, and he goes on to say that he once got stopped walking. I can't remember the university he's walking to, but he's walking to for his master's in maths, and he had his books with him, and he was stopped. And even though he's in the top 2% in education wise, but because he was born in the lower 2% in society, he was stopped because of obviously the way he looked, his skin color, and that they believe him to be out of place, that he shouldn't be in that position. And he goes on to talk about, even though they say there's not a classist and they say there's not anything like that in the media, there is. The media portray it, the media show it, and it doesn't matter how educated you are or how intelligent you are as a black person, they don't look past the skin color. And that's what he's trying to say to people, like, it doesn't matter about how well he's done for his life. He could be on the way to a meeting, but because he drove a certain car and they're like, "Oh no, we know gang leaders drive this car. We've stopped him." Well, I drive this car because I've earned a really good living, and I've made a business on myself. I've made my own business, and I can afford this car. It's just, if anyone watching this has never listened to any of the stuff he says regarding race, media, politics, anything like that, go watch his videos. They're absolutely amazing. Simeon probably backed me up on this. Like he said, he's watched his stuff. The guy is amazing to listen to, and he really educates people.
And that's literally it. Akala, his name is.
Akala.
AKALA. You might have heard of his sister, Miss Dynamite.
Oh, is that his sister?
Yeah.
I'll check it.
But so when it comes to education, he's very much on there for the UK side of things. If you want to learn the US side of things, go and look up Killer Mike, the black rapper from Run the Jewel, because he's very much an advocate of black history, black intellectualism as a whole. So there you go, you've got both. So if you want modern day representation for the history of both sides and what has happened, I would recommend going just finding stuff on them for YouTube. If you can look up, like, for the sake of argument, people like Candice Owen. She's a black leftist who supports Trump and is highly infuriating with some of the things she says, especially about Floyd.
I was going to bring her up actually, Simon, because her video, she posted a video recently. I think it was today or yesterday. She posted a video about, she was like, I weren't sure if I wanted to say this stuff, etc., etc., because I didn't want to know how it was going to be reacted to. But she said it anyway, because that's what she does. And like I say, she is very left-wing. She's a Trump supporter. She's been known for some of the stuff she said in the past. But she goes on to talk about the George Floyd incident, about how he isn't a martyr. He isn't, and basically trying to, I mean, you might be able to explain it more better than I can, regards to what she was trying to say about it.
So what she was trying to get across was, we don't want to glorify criminals. And her argument is, for the longest time, we have glorified, in the black community, criminals. So Floyd George has a record. Ahmaud Arbery has had run-ins, and I think has a record. And so we have a thing of glorifying heroes. She was saying she doesn't want those to become masters and the pillars of our community, which I understand, but we were never trying to make them the pillars of the community. We were looking for justice. That's why we use the other examples of both Gene, that's Tanya Jefferson. Both of them were sitting on his couch in his flat when the officer, the lady who broke in, walked into the wrong flat, saw a black man on a sofa and shot him multiple times in his head. Brianna, I can't remember her surname, the medical ENT who was shot 8 times by the cops who had a no-knock warrant. That means they could just break into the apartment and raid. Her boyfriend fired a warning shot. They fired 20 return, 8 hit her. She passed away. He was then originally charged with attempted murder because they were like, well, you tried shooting us, whereas we killed your girlfriend. Luckily, he's now been released and the charges have been dropped, but you can see the systemic issue there. So we're not trying to glorify them as heroes. We just want justice, when we want equal justice. The problem is, until they dismantle the police unions properly and give them a proper looking over, dismantle the laws that mean you cannot sue an officer unless there is a take. So I'm not sure if you know that. In America, you can't sue an officer effectively unless there's an original, like there's precedents for it. So there are so many cases. That's why there's been very few cases. Philandra Castle, who advised the officer that he had a gun and was just reaching for his paperwork, and he got shot 7 times in the chest by an officer. We're asking for justice because these cases of police brutality, and if this is in a third world country who would be like, we need to be over there, we need to be ending this oppression, but it's on your doorstep and it's not considered police brutality or domestic terrorism. It's just considered down the top.
And I think that goes on to, like saying, like this whole movement at the moment and this whole situation is not just because of one incident. It's because of evidence and proof of a lot of incidents that have happened ongoing that have just been overlooked and just washed under the bridge, like it didn't happen, or oh, it's okay, we've punished this one person for it. It's a case of no one's ever learned from it. It's never stopped. It keeps on happening. It keeps on going. It keeps repeating itself. And they say that history shouldn't repeat itself because of the fact is you should learn from the history. And the issue is no one's learned from it. No one's learned from slavery. No one's learned from the time of Martin Luther King and his movement, even and to now. People still haven't learned. Things haven't changed at the top where the issue is. The issue starts at the top, and that's
it's not that no one's learned, it's just that the people that matter haven't learned. I mean, because have you seen like the amount of thousands of people that have been, like, not just black people but white people as well, on the streets protesting it? You know, a lot of people we know it's wrong. We know it should be changed, but it's the people at the top, the people in
that's what I'm saying. The people in power, the people that can make change, the people that can stop this from happening are the ones that I don't think have ever learned. And it goes back to the thing about media. Social media, not necessarily social media, the actual media are to blame for a lot of things. And it goes to the example, that's what I posted it earlier. So right now, in my opinion, the most important thing right now in the world is this situation. Black Lives Matter is what's going on. It's more important than anything. It's more important than anything right now because it is such a serious matter. However, again, people say it doesn't exist. It does exist. White privilege is a thing, and it's proven today in the media when, if you look at all the newspapers, there's generally one thing on the main front page, and that is everything's going on regarding Black Lives Matter, the protests, the movements, the stuff in America. That should be on the front page. But what was on 90% of the front pages? Madeleine McCann and the fact that they may have found her suspect now, and there's now been an abandonment. That's 13 years old, right? And again, it's not important. I'm not saying it's not important. I'm saying that it's 13 years old, and it could be on any page in the newspaper. The article doesn't have to be front page because it's not. It goes down to what is white privilege, in my opinion, because the media are like, well, we need to show everyone that they've actually found something regarding this white girl that went missing 13 years ago, etc., etc. And they're saying that this is now the focus point. But it shouldn't be. It should be still the same thing that was the focus point yesterday. The focus point tomorrow should still be the same thing. And that's the thing that's more important right now, in my opinion, which is Black Lives Matters, because until this is properly educated out and people really understand it, and there's a proper change within society, then we shouldn't stop talking about it.
But that just goes back. That goes back though, Nathan, to the media only wanting you to see what they want you to see. Yeah, you know, it's media, politicians, the lot. They'll only show you what they want to show you. And like you were saying earlier, I'm going to just go back a little bit. You're saying like them in charge, the only ones can change it. What my fear is these politicians are joining these protests, and I'm not saying they're not there to stick up for Black Lives Matter, but my fear is they're doing it for their own gain as well. You know, there's a lot of politicians that are coming out going, "Oh, look at me, I'm on knee," and blah blah blah. Well, a couple of weeks ago they were slating people for going out. You know, now they're like joining the Black Lives Matters movement. But I was saying a couple of weeks ago, if you said like I'm going down the park with my mates, they'd slate you. So are they only doing it for their own gain?
there is definitely a lot of clout chasing that is going on in the political game.
Yeah.
And you realize more the older that you get, the more you realize it. Like the fact that we have Boris Johnson in power is insanity, when the man has made more inflammatory comments about every section, every minority in all of its forms, whether that be ethnicity, sexuality, and all those kind of things, is a testament to how, excuse my language, fucked we are as a country. Because if you're at a point where you want that kind of man in power, then it kind of says, it's like the same rhetoric of Brexit, where we were shown everything that made it so Brexit was clearly advantageous for us, but none of the underbelly was shown. It's always the case. You will always put your best foot forward. It's like I would describe it as business. If you as a business, you're going to send your best, the best representation of your business. For example, if you're in IT or whatever, you would send your highest IT officer there. You're not going to send Daryl, the toenail clipping fool who's at the front desk.
You got a toenail. You got a guy that clips your toenails.
Work.
Yeah. I mean,
Mate,
you've got. Bro, I'll tell you, I live the dream.
Secret information, Lee.
I'll just clip them for me, son. Go on.
Can't tell you where it works. Secret information, that is. Top secret.
I work or I live the dream.
The reason I said that, Simeon, right, is obviously up and down the UK they've had protests, and in Coventry they've had protests as well. There's a councillor, which I can't stand, a councillor for Binley and Willing North, which is part of Coventry. It's where we do the Haggard Centre shows.
Yeah, I know about it.
Yeah. So there's and I'm not going to mention his name, because I'm not a tough person. But anyway, he's put this massive post up the other day going, "Oh, I'm proud to be out here with everybody in Coventry, supporting the Black Lives Matters movements, blah, 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 blah." That same day, right, somebody was stabbed in his constituent. Not one bit. Yeah, he didn't say, "I'm sorry for the family, this, etc., etc., etc." So to me, all he was saying to me is he was there to profile himself as a councillor and get them votes.
And that's what I'm saying. It's clout chasing.
Well, this is why Trump's been questioned recently, because I don't really like talking about him. I think he's an absolute idiot, and I don't care if the FBI ever watches his video and come after me. But who cares? Screw it. But Trump's in question because all this is going on in this country, and the picture of the White House yesterday, where he turned the lights off, like he's in hiding.
That was shooting. It's like a fucking child shooting his curtain, coming out to play. What the fuck?
He was in the bunker as well. So
he went in the bunker for protection, and what else did he do? Oh, he had to get the special security when he went to visit the church.
But to be fair, who doesn't want to shoot him now? Fucking hell, I do.
A lot of people. If you look at his okay, so if we're going to do this, if you look at his approval rating across the board, it's currently up in most demographics and and even in the black community, he is a higher demographic. But the reason, and here's the problem, and I don't condone him as a leader because I think he's full of shit. Again, apologies for the language.
No, it's okay. You can say what you want, mate. Say any fuck shit bollocks you want, mate, because this is not PG-13 material.
Oh, shit.
Talking madness.
Well, now you said that, let's change that.
That guy's a prick.
Agreed. But here's the problem. The guy is a prick, and unfortunately, there are numbers that back up the claim that he's been quite effective.
Yeah.
No matter what you can say about his numbers, he's also not been Joe Biden, who has quite literally said on an interview with Charlemagne the God, if you don't know who to vote for between me or Trump, you are not black.
Wait, what?
You heard correctly. So this is what Joe Biden, the number 2 to Obama, has said.
Wow.
And this thing is, like I say, again, it goes down to how can people expect change, proper change that should happen, if the people in charge or the leaders don't step up or take the right steps. You've got Boris Johnson, hasn't want to come out to support anything, hasn't once commented on anything, hasn't made statements about it, just hides away, keeps himself to himself. Donald Trump, the exact same, doesn't try and support it, doesn't try to say, I'm with you guys, this is going to change, this is what needs to happen. No, instead, he's like, we're going to get the military involved, I'm going to go sit in my bunker, I'm going to make it stricter for everyone, I'm going to make it harder for everyone. It's the opposite.
But if I'm just a question to everybody, not just Simeon. If Boris Johnson did come out and say something, what effect would it have?
I tell him to shut the fuck up to his face.
Well, yeah, you know that. We know you're a Boris Johnson fan, Simeon. I can understand that.
I'm with Simeon. It probably has no effect. Most people tell him to shut the fuck up. But in my opinion, if I look to leaders to be a leader, the reason why they're called a leader is because they lead by example. That's what you're meant to do. You're meant to lead by example. You're not. If you don't lead by example, you're a dictator. You're that's what you become. You're a dictator, or you're just someone in power who uses power for their own needs and greed. If you're a leader, you should be leading. And it doesn't matter if you're the leader and you don't believe in something or you don't agree with something. Your job is to lead an example.
Or provide a better way.
It should be. And he should lead an example by supporting them. People might
say,
let me
put it this way, then, mate.
Himself and stuff, but in theory, if he was a human being, he should see that what's gone on is wrong, and he should be supporting this matter, because any human being that doesn't agree with it, any human being out there, anyone who watches this video right now, I don't give a crap if I lose 100 followers right now or someone disfriends me.
You ain't got 100 followers.
If you don't believe in the Black Lives Matter movement, then you're wrong as a human being, because the fact is, it does matter.
Being. Let me just say this. It's human being. Stop saying human being, for fuck's sake. Human being.
So let me put it this way then.
Nathan, we're not discussing my speech impediment when it comes to H's and U's here.
Let's put it this way, right. I want to put it this way, So you're saying, like, Boris Johnson comes out and says, look, I'm dead against what they've done in America. Black Lives Matter, and then Simeon's literally, you did say, "I'll time to shut the fuck up," didn't you, Simeon?
Because you don't believe it.
So let's, hear me out on this one, right? So let's have a look at So he comes out and says that, then there's a massive backlash, non-Boris Johnson fans going, "Fuck you, Boris Johnson! Why are you coming out saying this?" Blah 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 blah. But then on the other hand, you've got the people that have voted him in saying, "Well, hold on a minute, he's trying to do his best here." So if he did come out and do it, and then he gets slated for it, is that not playing into the hands of of people like him? Same as fucking what's his name? Who's the American one? Fucking
Trump.
Yeah, is it not? Playing...
That's exactly it.
I don't remember. I just know him as a
right, Aaron. You're in a situation.
Hold on a minute, Nathan. Let me finish, man. Because you talk a bit, man. Let's all get a little word in. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Don't maybe put a sock in your mouth to shut you up for a bit. You know what I'm saying? We know it's your show, Nathan. You've already said that. We understand that. But what I'm saying is, I'm saying this to Simeon now, not you, Nathan. So you could just sit down. Yeah. So is it not playing into Trump's hand and Boris Johnson's hand when you got the backlash of it all? Say like of a percentage where the other percent, which is quite big, that voted him in. We just turn around and go, hold on, he's just come out and you're slating him, so they're just going to vote him back in. Could that happen?
Yes, absolutely. That's why I am all for him being completely silent on the situation, because we already know his views. His views are made public. His views have been held in many a document, if you go looking, called Asian People in Bunkers, letterboxes. He said black people are just have watermelon smiles. Like the man is quite literally as toxic as they come, but yet he's the leader of the UK. So therefore, if he was to say anything, it would be disingenuous or balls. And the problem is, in the social media age, it would become a shitstorm, which would then lead to him getting further points. So therefore, his radio silence is much more preferable.
Yeah.
Leader or not, he's being a better leader by staying silent on the matter that he does not agree with than he is by saying anything disingenuous and causing more of a rift.
Yeah.
So this goes back to my thing is exactly right. Because of his past comments and stuff, anything he says is irrelevant. If he started talking on the matter, it is irrelevant, and I agree with you. There is no point in him talking on the matter, and that's not what I'm trying to say. Is as he is the leader, the one thing that is more important than talking is doing. Okay, so anyone can say anything, but it's a matter of actually doing something and putting something into place. Now,
that's if he agreed with you. That's if he agreed with you. He doesn't believe. Yeah.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't believe. That's the issue. He doesn't believe.
They don't believe what we're saying. They don't believe that fucking Black Lives Matter. So they're not gonna. All they're gonna do is the bare minimum to fucking skate by.
And that's the problem with the hierarchy. It's not going to change until you get someone in power who does believe it, who does support it. Then there'll be proper change in America, in the UK, in any country that faces these issues. Until there's someone in charge where these actual things matter, it's the same. It's not the same, but it goes along with countries where LGBT rights were so held back for so long. It took until someone in power believed in those rights and gave them those rights.
Yeah, but it's not going to. We have to vote that person in, mate. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
I'll vote Simeon.
I don't vote me.
I would.
Vote for me.
No, mate, you're the people I want to vote out. Look at you.
People actually would vote Boris over you, mate. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I didn't know the EDL had started voting again.
No, I know.
But no one's voting for Alex Connors either.
Yeah.
Who? Sorry.
I don't know.
Bastard.
But again, it's that thing is. You said it there. People have to vote the person in, but so it goes down to society again. We live in a society who are not educated properly enough for that to happen. Because if we were, that person would already be in charge.
Okay. So that works for us as the UK, but then you've got it doesn't work for the US. Like if you remember back to those votes, Hillary won the popular vote by about 2.5 million. So therefore, by popular vote standards, not electoral college, which they have, it's the dumbest system possible. Hillary should be in power by popular vote, but they don't do that. They do it by the electoral college, which is the most convoluted and complicated thing that I don't understand. So
I couldn't get into that. That's crazy.
We'll have to bring an American for that to understand their voting system.
Do you know any?
I've got some American friends, yeah.
Oh, here we go. Here he goes again.
I've got a
I met him in my travels on Budapest, and they stayed over. They came to our wrestling show. They stayed at my house when they visited, when they were traveling.
Well, that's your love story. You know
what I mean?
Don't start questioning me, Aaron. I'll chop your beard off.
You know what I mean? Is this one of your 100 followers that's going to not follow you no more? I'll be one of them.
It's okay, Aaron. We understand. You're not over it. It's fine.
Aaron gets upset when I have more than him as a friend, and I'm sorry, he's not in my top 10. And he cried about it last week.
Yeah, I'm one of your top 10 friends, mate. Of course I am. So who gives you a lift?
I told you, you're just my chauffeur.
Man, you're the equivalent of Jeffrey.
You toenail clipping bitch.
Don't you start, Lee?
Yeah, you're like the equivalent of pipe down.
Oh, dear me. But
In regards to everything.
Huh?
But in regards to everything, yeah, I agree. It is a case of you need the right person in power who is willing to make change. The problem is I have a genuine concern that there is not that candidate at this time. So all we're voting for at the moment is the person who's going to do the least damage to us, respectively. And that in itself is where a divide starts to happen. Because if Boris isn't going to do damage to your social standing or your rights, you're not going to vote. You're going to vote him in. He's not going to do anything for me. So there is no point me voting him. Also, I couldn't vote for him on principle, and we've been here in a Tory government for the whole of my adult life, and I have seen nothing but it get worse.
So, obviously, appreciate your time tonight, Simeon. And obviously, we've been discussing Black Lives Matters. Anyone who wants to learn more about it or want to have a better understanding on it, there are loads of things on the internet to study it. There's been videos posted on social media by a lot of people to educate you on what's been going on. So I'm going to leave this last bit to Simeon. Just let everyone know what obviously this all means to you, and obviously what you want people to take from this and to understand from this at the moment, in regards to the Black Lives Matter movement.
So for me personally, it is looking for as a human and not as a colour. As a whole, like, we're looking for equality. We're looking for the changes that have the systemic changes in society throughout the Western world and in some parts of the Eastern world, because if you've seen China and banning Africans from their McDonald's and other places, then, you know, enough said. And we won't talk about the washing up advert. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, that's fucking terrible.
Yes,
Jeez.
I remember that one. That was absolutely. I remember when that got released. It was shocking. Shocking that even made it through.
They put a black geezer into a washing machine and then put this fucking soap detergent in, and then he comes out as a white geezer saying that this is fucking cleans up.
Chinese guy.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. Fucking terrible.
I think it was a Chinese advert, wasn't it?
It was a Chinese advert.
Yeah, Chinese advert. You count the Chinese guy, yeah.
Yeah, and that it shows the perception that they have for us as well. So we want we want a fair shake, and that's the best way I can describe it. As much as people who will see this will consider me just a person, that's great. But then I'm sure there's going to be people in your community who are going to have seen the Black Lives Matters movements going on and gone, oh, well, there's the second wave. Here it comes. And be like, okay, but I bet you guys were out for VE Day, or I bet you guys were at the beach. Pipe down. I want you to see, so we want you to see the hypocrisy of the things that you're saying. If you're going to hate on us, then hate on those who are equally accountable for things that are negative. So, but then also celebrate those things that are equally just as positive. So yeah, I think we sit there and go, Black Lives Matter, absolutely, but and it is a case of all lives matter, but all lives don't matter until Black Lives Matter, and that's where I'll end it.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Simeon. Again, like I say, people, this obviously the reason we've done this week is because obviously it's something that's really important right now, and we wanted to let everyone obviously have a real understanding of this from someone in person who's obviously dealt with racial abuse and has actually lived through these situations. Once again, we thank you for those who've watched this video now or in the future. We appreciate those who've joined us live tonight. We may be doing this live again in the future. I do not know, but this has been Talking Madness with our guest, Simeon.
Love you, Simeon.
And my co-host, Aaron and Lee. We thank you for joining us. Remember, you can always catch our past episodes and future episodes on the on-demand service. And we do have a guest next week in Caitlin James, where we'll be discussing more topics in regards to what's going on in the world. But once again, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Talking Madness. Thanks for your time.
Oi.
Who we got next week?
Let me stop recording for a second. Oi.